Okay, it looks like we are live here. Let's go ahead and double check on your end, Michael. Should be able to see if we are live there. Give everyone a chance to join in the live.
Oh, came up on a live active shooter. There we go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, it looks like we're all set. So as everyone starts to join the broadcast, I want to say welcome to all of you guys who are joining us here today. I'm here with Michael Julian, who is the founder of A.L.I.V.E. A.L.I.V.E is a active shooter survival instructor certification course where he teaches he has certified over 200 instructors worldwide. And so we're here to talk with him today about the Lakewood church shooting. And before we dive in, I know that we're watching this and we're following this on many of his platforms today, but I know this is going to be shared out to many different platforms. So for those of you guys who are just joining him and are new follower, or those who are finding this broadcast in another place, I want to just go ahead and share with you guys a little bit about who you're going to be hearing from today. So I'm going to go ahead and read a quick bio. Michael Julian is a distinguished security and investigations professional with a career spanning over 30 years. In his keynote speaking engagements at conferences, Michael remains committed to personally teaching the A.L.I.V.E course to select businesses, public utility agencies, and medical and education institutions worldwide. Michael Julian's illustrious career is a testament to his unwavering dedication in the field of security and investigations, marked by innovation, leadership, and a commitment to enhancing safety and security for all. Michael is also a renowned author, having penned 10 Minutes to Live, Surviving an Active Shooter Using A.L.I.V.E. And this has become an Amazon bestseller in over 6 categories in 2017. So I'm going to have you, Michael, just if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and before we go into everything and your thoughts, just share a little bit about the events that unfolded yesterday with everyone who's listening, for those who might not have read the news or seen the news yet.
Sure. Well, my understanding from the news as of right now is around 2:00 yesterday in Lakeland, Texas. A woman, 37, 38 years old, walked into Joel Olstein's super ultra mega church and wearing a trench coat and backpack, and with a 5 to 7-year-old male child with her. At one point, she apparently had a long gun, a rifle with her, and apparently started shooting 2 off-duty law enforcement officers. I think one was federal DEA or something, that were part of the church's volunteer security team, which is typically how it's done. Apparently approached her and fired at her and killed her. And I unfortunately believe the young boy was hit as well, I think in the head, and is in critical condition. And I don't know what his prognosis is at this point, but I don't think it's good right now. I can only start by thinking, wow, that could have been so much worse. I can't wait until the rest of the details come out. I would love to know what's going on with how that was not, how a long gun was not seen. Of course, she was wearing a trench coat. So what went on, how long she was there, if she was spotted and some attention was brought to her by the security team. I want to know all the details, because this is a very interesting situation. And there were several shots, and apparently only one other person injured, a man in the leg, and he went to the hospital and got fixed up and was gone. So I don't know if she went in to make a dramatic gesture and shoot at the sky, or she actually shot at people, but there were several shots and only one, besides the boy, which is very likely law enforcement, but I don't know yet. Only one person shot in the leg. So it could have been so much worse. Thank goodness it wasn't. But still, a lot of information will come out that'll be really interesting.
Yeah. And I think I read somewhere that she said there was a BOMB. I don't know if we can say that on social media, but I think I read somewhere that was what was expressed. They didn't find anything on there. I don't know if you want to check on that.
Talk about explosive?
Yeah, explosives. That's the word I was looking for.
Apparently, for some reason, they believed that there was something to do with an explosive. Um, I can't imagine she said anything, or apparently she was also spraying some type of substance on the ground. She did have a past, some criminal, and it looks like some mental health issues. I'm definitely guessing by what I've heard that is a big part of this problem, which is one of the three motives that we talk about in the A.L.I.V.E program is mental illness and personality and emotional disorders. So I'm
Hmm.
sure a lot of that's going to come out.
And what do you think, like, what's your opinion on how they handled the situation? Because from what I saw, it was handled pretty quickly.
Well, the outcome certainly is, like I said, it was pretty good. It could have been so much worse and has been in the past in churches all over the country. So I would say they did it well. Um, for sure, the guys that actually fired the shots that stopped her. I'm curious to know how a long gun got into the church, but again, I don't know how their security team is set up. I don't know how long the long gun was, if it was hidden inside her trench coat. Um, in church situations, you want to be welcoming and warm and non-judgmental about somebody that shows up, maybe acting like a little quirky, but there are protocols in place for church security teams that I, I I would like to think that they had it set up in a way that there was people on the outside with comms. There's people
Hmm.
just inside the door in the foyer, whatever, with comms, and then there's people inside the pray room or auditorium with comms, and she would have been spotted very quickly. But again, I don't have all the facts, so I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback.
Okay, no, and that makes total sense. I mean, I feel like this is, as we both know, I mean, this is all across the U.S. and now in other countries happening quite often. And when you first started talking about this was all the way back in what, 2014?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's when the A.L.I.V.E program was created, and we're learning every one of these things that comes up. I mean, Uvalde, you thought we'd known better by now, but unfortunately, they made the same mistakes that were made by law enforcement when law enforcement didn't know the right way to do it. And I believe most of them do now. But like I said, we're learning. I would say that the outcome certainly appears as though they did a pretty good job of immediately engaging and neutralizing the threat. And let's hope that little boy makes it. And obviously the other guy that got hit. I'm just shocked there wasn't more people. I want to know what happened that she did not get more casualties, which is, what active shooters want to do is kill as many people possible in a short amount of time as possible. I don't know how that could have not happened more, because she was right there and just could have started spraying bullets. So there's more information to come out for sure.
Absolutely. That's the same thoughts that I had when I saw it. I was blown away that it just wound up with, I mean, not just, I don't want to, minimize, especially what happened to the young boy. But we are used to seeing, many casualties happen in these types of circumstances. So the fact that we're talking about a mega church and that wasn't the case, I mean, that really surprised me. So I'm definitely interested to see as it unfolds what we find out moving forward. And for those of you guys watching right now, we're here with Michael Julian. He is the founder of the A.L.I.V.E Active Shooter Survival Training Program. He teaches instructors how to teach this course to other people worldwide, and how to survive active shooter situations. He has a #1 Amazon bestseller in 6 different categories out, how to survive an active, or 10 Minutes to Live, how to survive an active shooter. And actually, while we're on that topic, will you share why it's called 10 Minutes to Live?
Yeah, when I was researching, when I was going to create a program in 2013, obviously I wanted to know as much as I could. And one thing that stood out to me in so many of these situations, researching the history, 25-year history of active shooters, that they rarely ever went over 10 minutes, even the biggest ones like Las Vegas and Virginia Tech. There have some, but 10 minutes is pretty rare. And I think that was one of the things that stood out to me. And one thing that stood out to me in so many of these situations, researching the history, 25-year history of active shooters, that they rarely ever went over 10 minutes, even the biggest ones like Las Vegas and a handful over the years, but so I went through the timelines of all of them, and I found out that 10 minutes was the longest time that these would ever work, and 69% of the time they're actually 5 minutes or less. How long these last? A
Yeah.
law enforcement will get there, the killer will shoot themselves, a Samaritan will stop them, something like that. So I thought, well, because I believe in being goal oriented and focusing on a positive result when you're in a situation, good or bad. I thought, well, I think I'll name the book 10 Minutes to Live so people understand you only have to make it for 10 minutes. There is hope. There is a finish line. Don't focus on, oh my God, this is terrible and it's lasting forever and I'm never going to get out of here alive. You focus on the fact that every second that goes by, you're a second closer to survival because it's going to be over soon. And that gives people hope, and it allows them to focus on the positive outcome, on the finish line, attaining the goal of survival, and not get distracted by seeing the faces of the people that they think they'll never see again. If they see those faces in their minds, they got to think, I got to get through this so I can get home to the people that I care about and they care about me. So that's where I came up with the 10-minute thought.
And moving back to that, that is the assess portion of A.L.I.V.E. So A.L.I.V.E is an acronym. And if you want to share what that acronym is, but I think it's key here and just overall, because the mindset piece, there's no way that you can survive situations if you are thinking of the worst.
Well, it's certainly a distraction from what you should be focused on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't you put that out of your mind and you focus on getting through that and taking action because freezing is you can't do it. It just
Yeah. I
that,
guess it's not
that
no way. It's just, it's not the mindset that you want to go for, right? You want to go for the mindset to actually stay alive, so that you can think about those areas of escape and actually understand that. And so I want to talk about a little bit, if you will, how you're helping organizations like this, because you and your instructors go and you teach this at different, like churches and organizations and hospitals, correct?
yeah, the A.L.I.V.E program is taught all over the world in every type of institution and organization and company and school and theater and church. So um, yeah, it's we teach a mindset, uh, a way of thinking that goes against what many people's instincts would be. So
Mhm.
we teach them how to be empowered and how when the poo poo hits the oscillator, instead of reacting emotionally, they react rationally and remember their training. Because Liz Moreno, one of my students from 2014 who survived the Las Vegas massacre, talks about when it happened and she realized what was happening. She went, oh my God, wait a minute. I've been through this training. I know what to do. So then she thought about her training and she just did it. I mean, it was brilliant. She did exactly what she learned and it helped her and her boyfriend survive that. Um, so it's just a matter of, like I said, empowerment and
Yeah.
never ever succumbing to a victim mentality and never ever losing hope.
Michael, why do you think these active shooters are doing, like, I know we don't know in this circumstance and we don't want to speculate for this particular circumstance, when we're talking about the Lakewood church shooting that just happened yesterday. However, in general, what are you noticing this is all about typically?
Well, like I said, there's three motives. There's anger and revenge. So a lot
Mhm.
of high school people that have felt marginalized and put down and humiliated, embarrassed, and can't get a girlfriend or whatever. Um, a primary motive might be anger and revenge. They're going to get back at the bullies that have made them feel bad in their life. This situation, like many others, I think is probably mental illness. There's just a lot of red flags that would bring me to that conclusion. Um, and then, of course, there's the I. Now, let me qualify that statement because it apparently one of her guns had a Palestine sticker on it or something, and she had a grievance with her former spouse, and apparently some of their relatives were Jewish. But again, that for all I know, that could be media uh, sensationalism to just get more, readers, followers, and watchers. But um, this could be a situation where it was racial, which you know happens a lot too. So there's just so much to learn that we don't know yet to really pinpoint what happened here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on, just as I mean, you're learning of mass shootings and situations like this on a weekly basis at this point, it seems like. I mean, we're looking at different events, and then some we're looking at and they're not shootings. The media is acting like they're shootings, and they're categorizing everything in that, you know,
Yep.
which is another problem.
Yep.
Um, so which is adding to the actual, and from what I've learned from you, it sounds like that adds to the problem of creating more shootings, because people are seeing this stuff and, you know.
Well, what I don't like about the media diluting this situation by grouping every shooting in and calling it an active shooting, because active shooter, unfortunately, it's losing less and less attention because they happen so often. People are getting just, I mean, used to it. But when they call everything an active shooting, it it it, it it's a disservice to the public, because they see this whole thing as an active shooting, or all these different events as an active shooter, when in fact the psychological profile of an active shooter who wants to kill as many people possible in a short amount of time as possible is very specific. And those three motives are the reason. It's not because they went and robbed a liquor store and then we're coming out and they got in a shootout with cops, or they go to a house party on Saturday night and a rival gang and them start a fight, and then they go get their guns and shoot everybody. It's a phenomenon. It's a different category, a different diagnosis, if you will. And I'm not a mental health professional, but I know enough about it to see, and all the history, all the data I've gotten from the research, it's a pretty specific group or mindset of people, and a
Mhm.
lot of them, it unfortunately comes down to a lack of coping skills. So the things in their life they have let built up and gotten to the edge, and now this is how they've decided to go out in a blaze of glory. And many of them, obviously they decide that suicide is the end game, and typically that is because they want to maintain the power and control they feel they have now that they've gone around spreading fear and death, and somehow feel better about it. And they would rather kill themselves and leave the mortal world under their own control and power than be taken into custody or killed by somebody else.
Wow. This is, what's wild to me is you've been talking about this for so many years, actually a decade now. You've been
Yeah.
talking about this a decade now. And I remember when you used to share years ago about this, just people coming down on you, talking about how you're being negative, and how dare you talk about these things, and why can't you talk about something else that's, more lighthearted, and just coming after you on social media. And all you were doing was literally trying to prepare people to be protected, because you have decades in the security industry, and you just wanted people to know, hey, like, we got to learn to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, what I want to do is educate people. I want to educate people to empower themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the old saying is perfect. You can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever. People need to know the truth, the reality of these things. And some of these corporate clients, well, they're not corporate clients of mine, but they could have been. But when they realize that I teach people how to fight back, to not be victims, and to do whatever is necessary to get home to the people you love and care about, through, if you have to fight back and use violence against them, and they're like, oh, no, 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 we don't allow violence in our culture here, so we can't do that. But the person that shows up with a gun apparently doesn't care about the guidelines of their culture, and they bring a gun and they start shooting and killing people. So whether you like it or not, I think it's the duty of employers and people themselves to get taught, to teach their people, and to get taught the right way to handle these situations. And it's not to try and negotiate with them, because again, part of that psychological profile is they're there to kill as many people possible in a short amount of time as possible. Talking is going to do no good. Action is the only thing that will help you, period.
Thank you, Michael. So for those of you guys who may have left comments that we can't see or did not see, we'll make sure to, get back with those comments in the threads. Please continue to leave comments and questions if you have any for Michael here. Before we get ready to end the broadcast, Michael, what would you say to someone that's just an average citizen that's watching the news, just anyone who's watching these things all the time, maybe worried about sending their kids to school now, considering homeschooling. Maybe people are worried about, where they can go and worship, or worried about going to malls. Like, what are some last things that you can share with those folks?
Well, here's the good news. It'll probably never happen to you. Chances are very, very slim. Also, many times, this type of violence is a process. It is not just an event that did not build up over weeks, months, or years. And we know that historically that is the case. Which means that if you know what to look for, the warning signs, you can recognize them, and then you can do something about it so that it never gets to that. Because what's the best way to survive an active shooter, active killer? Prevent it from happening. So if you know what to do to prevent it, then you can prevent it. And the only way to do that, like any other piece of knowledge in a person's brain, you have to learn it. So go learn it. Find out how to recognize the warning signs. Find out what to do once you do. Find out how to defend yourself. Find out where to go and what to do and how to do it using a proven method. And I'm not going to make a commercial because I'm not telling you to use the A.L.I.V.E program. There are others out there. Just about any training is better than no training. I don't like the surprise attacks when, somebody pretends to be an active shooter and goes and scares the hell out of everybody in a school or a an office building or something like that. But there's plenty of training out there, and just get to know what you can do, how to avoid it. But more importantly, train your brain to respond appropriately, because the biggest problem with people in the situation is they freeze, they become paralyzed. They see the faces of their loved ones and think, I'm never going to see them again. They fall into a victim mentality. They lose hope and they die. And it doesn't have to be that way. You stay focused. You don't act, emotionally. You act rationally. You make good decisions. You remember your training. You carry out what you know. And if necessary, you eliminate the threat with whatever means you have to use. But bottom line is you survive. And that's the survival mindset. That's what I believe. That's what we teach. And I believe that if everybody knew this phenomenon would start to go away, because there would be a lot less successful people doing it. So these people that lack coping skills, that decide to carry out these acts to somehow make them feel better, would see that it wasn't successful. So maybe they would choose something else, like joining a gym or a dance class or Tai Chi or anything other than this type of solution to their problems.
And it's so wild that something as simple as that could be a solution to the problem, just having awareness on things like this is so key. And, I know that you shared, you're not going to make this an advertisement, but for me, your program is the program. And I know that from the research and I know that from everything across the board, how many instructors you have, how many years in the security industry you've been, how many people are interviewing you across multiple news platforms. And I can go on, and we read your bio at the beginning. So for those of you watching who want to learn more about this program, go to activeshootersurvivaltraining.com. That's activeshootersurvivaltraining.com. You can find Michael's book there. You can find his programs. You can learn how to be part of the solution if you're interested in becoming an instructor. And just reach out if you want to learn more about him, and maybe you want to have that training go to your organization, your employees at your business or organization, or just yourself. Go visit that website today. So I think that's about it. Any last things you want to share, or should we?
No, just use common sense, learn what you need to learn so you're ready for these situations, because you never know when they're going to happen. And if you're not prepared, you're at a tremendous disadvantage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you all listeners for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.